Guess what? Joe Biden recently issued another executive order, this time about artificial intelligence. And if in addition to the absurdity of the word intelligence being used by politicians, the idea of another EO makes you shudder in fear for your rights, well, you're definitely on the right track. Hi everyone, I'm Gardner Goldsmith for MRC-TV. You know, as the late director Stanley Kubrick might have said, one would have to be living with eyes wide shut to not see the vast array of government-directed, government-funded, government-connected schemes and practices used to censor pro-freedom Americans or to reduce the reach of their ideas. From the recent revelations about so-called fact-check organizations like NewsGuard benefiting from federal cash even as they sent MRC-TV baseless notices, and going all the way back to 2016 when Google/YouTube whistleblower Zach Voorhees revealed the behind-the-scenes algorithmic system that his employers were using to reduce the profile of pro-freedom websites and videos. Many of us know that collectivist political players have tried to use computer tech to block freedom of speech. Well, on October 30th, Joe Biden put all of those previous and some likely still going speech suppression tactics on steroids, announcing a flagrantly unconstitutional so-called executive order that claims for the federal government the power to effectively control any issuance of AI computer programs and services. And when reading the awkwardly titled Executive Order on the Safe, Secure, and Trustworthy Development and Use of Artificial Intelligence, one could be forgiven for wondering if Biden's words themselves were strewn together by a cheap AI. It's not the clunky, grandiose, self-congratulatory nature of the document that actually is most offensive. It's the claims of power. Power that not only robs private individuals and business people of their right to control any AI work that they might offer in the market, but which also gives the federal government the ability to shape AI algorithms in ways that will suppress inclusion of politically disfavored information and will artificially amplify other politically preferred information. Which I know is incredibly shocking coming from an administration which even now is fighting to push social media to censor posts, even as an important lawsuit called Missouri v. Biden, a lawsuit over the Biden practice of censoring people through social media, moves through the courts. For those who might poo-poo fears over the practical implications of the Bidenistas claiming power over AI, for any of the skeptics who think, well, it can't be that bad, here are some key clauses of the AIEO, or is that like Old MacDonald's EIEIO? Here are some key portions from what Biden issued the day before Halloween. This endeavor demands a society-wide effort that includes government, the private sector, academia, and civil society. Doesn't that sound wonderful? It is also a form of fascism, which is the mixing of government and corporate business power, directed, of course, by government, which claims the legal use of compulsion and owns the government guns that they bought with our taxes. Second, we can see, and more specifically, we'll note that Biden says the feds have the omniscience and omnipotence to engage in, quote, testing and evaluations, including post-deployment performance monitoring. How dare anyone think that this should be up to the people who actually use AI sites and programs? How dare those who don't want to be included in this strong arming by the feds ask that Amtrak Joe leave them out of it and not take their taxes to test and evaluate anything? Who do those American folks think they are? Free people or something? Come on. Then we've got this, number 3. And this is even more ominous. Quote, my administration will help develop effective labeling and content provenance mechanisms so that Americans are able to determine when content is generated using AI and when it is not. Curious executive order readers might wonder how the federal government will monitor every piece of data we see and then offer a system of labeling the content provenance. Well, that requires a point of origin awareness and a data tracking system by which the provenance actually is going to be an identifier. This long has been a goal of political collectivists and a number of big corporate interests that are tied to them under the banner of the so-called Coalition for Content Provenance and Authenticity, C2PA, which would incorporate IDs into all computer products and systematize online use to let government or corporations working with government bureaucrats and shifty corporate minds at places like Google to continue engaging in suppression of messages and the people who offer them. It would allow complete blockage of those whose work is not authenticated. And anyone who has seen the dystopian film Conquest of the Planet of the Apes knows what an authenticator can do. In fact, it's not just what we might think of as AI for words and art and sound that will be affected here. The Biden executive order for AI includes a claim of federal monitoring over discrimination themes, as well as all biological research done with computers. In fact, the executive order hints at claiming the capacity to monitor and create so-called standards for any kind of computer-based, digitally run program offered or used in the United States. Here's one of Amtrak Joe's lengthy but extremely troubling, extremely telling statements to sum up the vast and dangerous sweep of this order. Quote, developing guidelines, standards, and best practices for AI and security. A, within 270 days of the date of this order, to help ensure the development of safe, secure, and trustworthy AI systems, the Secretary of Commerce, acting through the Director of the National Institute of Standards and Technology, NIST, in coordination with the Secretary of Energy, the Secretary of Homeland Security, and the heads of other relevant agencies as the Secretary of Commerce may deem appropriate, shall 1. Establish guidelines and best practices with the aim of promoting consensus industry standards for developing and deploying safe, secure, and trustworthy AI systems, including A. Developing a companion resource to the AI Risk Management Framework, NIST AI 100-1, to generative AI. B. Developing a companion resource to the Secure Software Development Framework to incorporate secure development practices for generative AI and for dual-use foundation models. And C. Launching an initiative to create guidance and benchmarks for evaluating and auditing AI capabilities, with a focus on capabilities through which AI could cause harm, such as in the areas of cybersecurity and biosecurity. Any federal so-called standard not only eats our tax cash to create it, it can play favorites with established bigwigs in the tech world. Additionally, such a standard, so-called, for anything will inspire market participants to conform, just in case the feds move on them for not maintaining appropriate, as defined by the feds, standards. And there's a lot more, but this particular portion ought to suffice as we look into the Biden AI abyss. Quote, 4.2, ensuring safe and reliable AI A, within 90 days of the date of this order, to ensure and verify the continuous availability of safe, reliable, and effective AI in accordance with the Defense Production Act as amended, 50 U.S. Code 4501 et sec., including for the national defense and the protection of critical infrastructure, the Secretary of Commerce shall require companies developing or demonstrating an intent to develop potential dual-use foundation models to provide the federal government on an ongoing basis with information, reports, or records regarding the following. A, any ongoing or planned activities related to training, developing, or producing dual-use foundation models, including the physical and cybersecurity protections taken to assure the integrity of that training process against sophisticated threats. And dual use is a term applied to technology that politicians claim can be used for civilian or military purposes, which means anything. A letter or number can be applied to civilian or military use. And of course, this, dear viewer, means that the feds will be able to search any computer software developer's programs without warrants to demand any records that they please from any of us working on software. This executive order is not only another executive branch power grab over the freedom of speech, and not only insults the founders, it also threatens all of us. And it's not getting a lot of media attention at all. It'll be up to all of us to tell others. Well, we still can. Thanks for watching, one and all. Please like and subscribe. Find us on Rumble, where they don't censor us. Thank you again, Rumble, for putting up such a great fight. And to all of you out there who expend that energy to spread the word about the videos, thank you so much. Again, share them with as many people as you possibly can. Put them on social media and suggest friends and family members check them out. You can find us all the time at MRCTV.org. That's MRCTV.org. And while you're there, please consider contributing to the Media Research Center. And of course, you can visit the MRC Store and get some great items over there. You can find us on TikTok, on Instagram, in Facebook, and on Twitter. And on Gab, I'm at Gardner Goldsmith. And on Twitter, I'm at Gard Goldsmith. For MRC TV, I'm Gardner Goldsmith.